Welcome to Greek 201 with Dr. French Arrington, Lesson 1. I'm Matthew Foley, and I'll be an assistant here, providing intros to each video and also reviews at the end. For Lesson 1, Dr. Arrington will be going over things like the alphabet, the Greek alphabet, also diphthongs, as well as vowels and what are called breathing marks and punctuation marks for Koine Greek. So this will essentially be a review of Greek 101. And as such, it won't take much of an introduction to get into it, but it's important to note Dr. Arrington will be using the Erasmian pronunciation, which we've talked about in Greek 101, a more classical and traditional approach to the language. So from here on out in Greek 201, we're going to be using that as the standard pronunciation.
And what I want to do today is I want to talk to you about the alphabet. Now we have capital letters and we have small letters. We want to study today the small letters, because most of the Greek New Testament is written in what we call the cursive letters, the small letters. Occasionally, a proper name will be capitalized, or the first word in a paragraph will be capitalized. But what we want to do is to learn the small letters of the Greek alphabet. And having done that, we'll be ready then to begin with the exercises. So I'm going to begin with the alphabet. Then I'm going to talk about the vowels, long and short vowels. Then I'm going to talk about the diphthongs. There's a number of those. And then the breathing marks and the punctuation. Now, all of this is going to seem to you to be a lot. And it's going to be quite a lot. But just give us time and be patient. And we'll work with it, and we'll work with it, and we will work with it. I'm not going to get tired of doing that. Now, you may get tired, but I'm not. I understand the process of learning a foreign language, and it just takes patience. And I'm here for one thing, and one thing only, to teach you New Testament Greek. And if you will stay with me, you're going to be rewarded, because you're going to learn some Greek. We're going to start here with the alphabet, the small letters of the Greek alphabet. The first letter of the Greek alphabet is alpha, and it looks almost like an English A. An English A. And it is pronounced like the Greek letter, like the word A in father. Yeah, I'm going to get on to this in a minute. Like the A in father. The second letter is beta. You begin below the line, come up, and you form what looks like an English B. And it is simply pronounced like the B in bat. Like the B in bat. Alpha, beta, gamma. You begin above the line and you come around and you go up like that. It looks somewhat like an English Y, but don't confuse it with the English Y. And it's pronounced essentially like the word, the G in go. The G in go. The next letter is the delta. You begin above the line and you loop around and you put a foot on it. That's the delta. That's the delta. One rule about forming the Greek letters is that you don't pick up your marker or your pen unless you have to. And that is simply pronounced like the D in dog. The D in dog. The next letter looks exactly like the English E. The English E. And you pronounce it like you would the E in get. The E in get. The next letter is zeta. Zeta. You begin above the line, come around and loop, and you come down and hang the foot just below the line, the zeta. The zeta. And it is pronounced like the Z in zero. The next letter looks almost like an English N. You begin above the line, come down, and you hang the foot below the line. Below the line. That is an eta. And it is pronounced like the A in fate. The A in fate. The A in fate. The next letter is the theta. Theta. And you form that. Now, I pick up my pen when I form the theta. Some people do not. Some people will just come around like that and form it. But what I usually do is pick mine up and come across there like that. You can form it either way. And it is pronounced like the TH. The TH in thin. In thin. So it is pronounced like two letters. TH in thin. The next letter is the iota. The iota. Now it just slightly leans a little like that. The iota. And it is pronounced like the I in pen. The I in pen. The next one is formed exactly like the English K. Exactly like the English K. And it is pronounced like the K in king. The K in king.
We will resume this teaching after a short message from International School of the Word.
This teaching is one lesson taken from a full course on isow.org. If you are enjoying this video, we invite you to check out the full course in the links below. For the best value, try our All Access Pass. At just $99 per month, you can access thousands of hours worth of high-quality, world-class teaching. To check local pricing in your country, visit isow.org. For more great teachings like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel and follow us on our social media platforms.
Now, back to this teaching from International School of the Word.
The next letter is the lambda. Now, you begin with a curved line, and then you just support it by drawing a line off of that. A curved line, and you draw and that is pronounced like the L in look. The L in look. The next letter looks almost like an English U, except it has a tail below the line. And it is pronounced like the M in man. The next letter is the nu. It looks almost like an English V, but it does. The right line on it leans out just a little, just a little. It's not quite like an English V because the English V, both lines would be at the same angle. But this leans out a little more than this. And it is pronounced like the N in nu. Like the N in nu. The next letter is the ru. Begins below the line, and it looks somewhat like an English P. Like an English P. One thing about the ru, if it's the first letter in a word like rhema, if it's the first word, it's going to have what we call a rough breathing over it. Well, put it down here where I can. It's going to have what we call a rough breathing, and I'll be talking to you about the breathing marks. There are two breathing marks, a rough breathing and a smooth breathing. But if ru is the initial letter in a word, it will always have the rough breathing, the rough breathing. The next letter is the pi. And it is formed by forming a line up above and then putting two legs on it. The pi. Yeah. The pi. It is, well, let me give you a word here. like the R in rat. That will work. And this, the pi will be like the P in pepper. The next letter can be formed in two ways. One, it can be formed like an English S. It's the sigma. The sigma, formed like the English S. Or it can be formed like this. When it is formed like this, like the English S, it is either part of the internal spelling of the word or on the end of the word, the last letter on the word. When it is formed like this, it is part of the internal spelling of the word. So, or it will be the first letter of the word. Sigma. This is the sigma, and it's pronounced like the S in sin, like the S. Pi rho sigma tau. Tau is the next letter. It's formed exactly like the English T. Exactly like it. And it is pronounced like the T in top, like the T in top. The next letter is the upsilon, which looks exactly like the English U. And it is pronounced like the U in put. The next letter is the phi. Is the phi. Now, usually what I do, I draw a circle. I just draw a circle and I put a straight line through it. That's the phi. Some will form it like this and come down like that and not pick up the marker. And it is pronounced like the PH. The PH. Like the PH in Philadelphia. Like the PH in Philadelphia. The next letter is the chi, formed exactly like the English X, but the legs do hang a little below the line. And it is pronounced like the CH in lock. In lock. The next letter is psi, chi, psi. And there you form the English U and just draw a line straight through it. And it is pronounced like the PS in psychology. Now, in pronouncing the psi, the PS, what we do in English, we let the P be silent. Now, if you had a word like tipsy, then you would divide the PS, and the P would go with the first syllable, and the sigma would go with the second. But when you have the psi at the beginning of a word, then you will let the P be silent, like in the Greek word suke, which is translated soul. And then the final letter here is omega. And it looks exactly like the English W, but it is pronounced like the O in not. It is always an O sound. An O sound.
Thank you so much for supporting our ministry. If this has blessed you, please say a prayer for us. And if you would like to give, we have 3 ways that you can do that. You can give online at iso.org/donate, or text the word GIVE and the amount to 423-225-9022. That's 423-225-9022. You can also give through the mail at ISOW, 340 Paul Huff Parkway, Northwest, Cleveland, Tennessee, 37312. Thank you. God bless you, and may the Lord multiply your seed. Now back to this teaching from the International School of the Word.
So this gives you an idea of the alphabet. Now the next thing I want us to look at is the diphthongs. Do we understand what a diphthong is? A diphthong is a combination of two vowels in a single syllable. Combination of two vowels in a single system. Let's look at the diphthongs. The first diphthong is the alpha iota diphthong, and it is pronounced exactly like the AI in owl. The AI in owl. The second diphthong is the epsilon iota diphthong that is pronounced exactly like the A in fate. So this letter, eta, and this diphthong are pronounced the same way, like the A in fate. And then the omicron iota diphthong is pronounced exactly like the OI in oil. And then the alpha upsilon is pronounced exactly like the OW in owl. The omicron upsilon is pronounced exactly like the two O's in food. And the upsilon iota is pronounced exactly like the U-E-E in Koine. In Koine. It basically gets the same pronunciation as the pronoun in English, we. Now, there is here another diphthong, and then there are some proper diphthongs. There is the epsilon, upsilon diphthong, and it is pronounced like the EU in feud, the EU in feud. Those are the proper diphthongs. The improper diphthongs are three. Now note that is the alpha with an iota subscript. And then the eta with the iota subscript. And then the omega with the iota subscript. Now, the subscript here and here does not change the pronunciation. So you pronounce the alpha as if the iota was not there, the eta as if the iota was not. These are called improper diphthongs. There is one other diphthong, and that is the eta upsilon diphthong, which is rather rare in the New Testament, which is rather rare. And what you do in pronouncing this is you run those two letters together. Eu is the way you pronounce that. So those are the diphthongs. Now we have long and short vowels. Long and short vowels. The longest vowel, one of them is alpha, and it can also be short. With the long vowel, you hold it a little longer than you would with the short vowel. The eta is the long E sound, and the short is epsilon. And then the omicron, short, the omega is the long. The iota can be either long or short. And the upsilon can be long or short. Now, you will note here that the alpha doesn't change forms when it's short. The iota doesn't change forms when it's short, and the upsilon does not. Now, what you do is simply for the long vowels, long alpha, long eta, long iota, and long upsilon, you simply hold those a little longer than you normally would. But when you blend those together with other sounds in a word, it is difficult to distinguish by ear. So those are the diphthongs, the proper diphthongs, and then the improper. And this is an unusual one that we will not have to work with for some time. Okay, we want to look at the breathing marks. The breathing marks. The breathing marks are two. We have what is known as the smooth breathing mark. And it is formed simply like this. You take a word like Huron. When you have a word that begins with a vowel or with a diphthong, this word begins with a diphthong, epsilon, upsilon. When you have a word that begins with a diphthong, it will always have a breathing mark, And that is the smooth breathing mark. That indicates that you are to put no H before this word. But the rough breathing, is turned around and in the other direction. The smooth, the rough. And if you had this word here, Huron, the same word, with a rough breathing over it, that would indicate that you are to put an H before the diphthong. So the way this word would be spelled there or transliterated is like that. Huron. Huron is the way we would express it. Okay. Dividing the word into two syllables, and the smooth breathing, the rough breathing indicates that we should put an H sound before it. See, there is no letter in the Greek for just the H. All right, there's one other thing that we need to note, and that is punctuation. Punctuation. There are 4 marks of punctuation. The comma and the period function the same way as they do in English. Function as in English. And is formed the same way. So, the comma, the period, both is formed the same way. Then you have what we call, many would call the high point or the colon. The colon is simply formed above the line. This is the line, and many refer to it as the high point, but it functions the same way as the colon and the semicolon. Functions for the English colon and the semicolon. And then you have the question mark. The question mark. And it looks just like an English semicolon. So when you see in the Greek text the semicolon, it's going to indicate that the sentence is a question, Mm-hmm. Four marks of punctuation.
So Dr. Arrington has just gone over the Greek alphabet, which we'll be reviewing very briefly here again. So alpha is going to be pronounced as art, A as in art, alpha. Beta will be pronounced as B in English, like boost, boost. Gamma will be pronounced as in G, like great, great. Delta will be pronounced as in D, like drive, drive. Epsilon will be pronounced as a short E, like express, express. Zeta will be pronounced similarly to the English Z, as in zeal, zeal. Eta, a longer form of what is an E-class vowel, just like epsilon, it's going to be pronounced like A, as in way or skate. Theta will be pronounced like a TH in English, or throne, TH as in throne. Then we have iota. Iota has two different pronunciations, a short and a long in the Erasmian pronunciation, like the I's in idiom, the first one being short and the second one being long. Idiom, idiom. Kappa is going to be pronounced like the English K, as in kraken, kraken. Lambda will be pronounced like L in English, like light, light. Mu will be pronounced like an M, as in mop, mop. Nu will be pronounced like an N, as in nail, nail. Xi or xi will be pronounced like an X in tax, tax. O for Omicron, Omicron is going to be pronounced like an O in English, as in spot, spot, like the O in spot. P or pi will be pronounced like P, as in pray, pray. Rho, which is equivalent to an R in English, is going to be pronounced like rapture, the R in rapture. Sigma will be pronounced like an S, as in source, source. Tau will be pronounced like a T in taste, taste. Upsilon will be pronounced like the U in mule, U, mule, mule. phi or phi will be pronounced like the PH in photo, or like F in English. Photo, photo. Chi or ki will be pronounced approximately to the CH in Bach, Bach. Psi or psi will be pronounced like the PS in laps, L-A-P-S, laps. And then finally, the omega will be pronounced like the O in owner, owner, owner. The next thing are the diphthongs, which the alpha iota will be pronounced as an I, A-Y, as an A-Y-E, like I, that sound, or I as in the eyeball, I. That's going to make that noise, I. Epsilon iota will make the A noise, as in rain, rain. Omicron iota will make the Oi noise, as in soil, soil. Alpha upsilon will make, in Erasmian pronunciation, the noise of ow, as in power, power. Epsilon upsilon will make the U noise, like nephew, U noise, not the U, but the U noise, excuse me. And then there's a longer form of that diphthong, which is eta upsilon, which is going to make the same noise as a nephew, the U as a nephew. Then there's upsilon iota, and that will make a we noise, like W-E in English, or U-I in sweet. So we, or sweet. Then there's omicron upsilon, which will make a double O, oo noise in English, like loop, loop. The vowels that Dr. Arrington points out here are alpha, epsilon, eta, iota, omicron, upsilon, and omega. So the longer vowels are vowels that take longer to pronounce, short vowels approximately, are vowels that are going to be shorter naturally to pronounce. So long vowels are like eta or omega, and short vowels are epsilon and omicron in Koine Greek. There are some vowels that are long or short, and those are iota, upsilon, and alpha. Finally, there are breathing marks and punctuation that he goes over in this video for Koine Greek. The breathing mark, which is called the rough breathing mark, makes the h, this breath of air H noise, and it's going to lean curved to the right. The smooth breathing mark is going to lean curved to the left and is silent. So that's the difference between the rough and the smooth breathing marks. A comma and a period in Koine Greek look exactly the same as in English, so that's very straightforward for you. A colon, however, is a dot levitating in the air, as you see here in Koine Greek, and a question mark looks like what we in English have as a semicolon. And that is Greek 201, Lesson 1 review.